breaking news, fresh off the presses, fresh off the presses. It's your boy Carcino here, and let's talk about it. Now, woo! Breaking news, baby. Breaking news. Eminem is suing Spotify. That's right. I'm Slim Shady. Yeah. Well, he might not even own that song. As he finds out that he is not the owner of Lose Yourself when he is the owner of Lose Yourself. And it's like, what? It's a lot of theft and thievery going on that's been happening with people's publishing and copyrights, as Goo Roach has brought to our attention, our very own Goo, what's up? Goo Roach brought this up, what was it, about a year ago, Goo? You brought that back up to the surface? So, Eminem publisher, the whole publishing crew, they're claiming this massive copyright breach and calling it unconstitutional law because Spotify is paying people who have basically infringed on the paperwork and falsified things to say like they owned it. 8 Mile Style is Eminem's publishing company, and they claiming that Spotify have infringed on hundreds of their songs, all their copyrights, everything. And now 8 Mile accuses Spotify of wrong, like willfully, like copyright infringement to Lose Yourself and about 250 of his songs. This is a $1 billion lawsuit. Then they brought up the act that happened with the Music Modernization Act, which is a federal law, came out last October that was intended to make life easier for tech companies to get, songwriters paid. And Spotify and the $26 billion Stockholm giant that they are not living up to their obligations under what they call the MMA. And no, not mixed martial arts, the Music Modernization Act. Okay? And while making a whole big frontal attack on one of the few legislatives during this era, they said Spotify has no license for Eminem's compositions, and despite streaming these billions of times and all of these different things, Spotify has not accounted to 8 Mile or paid 8 Mile for these streams, but instead remitted random payments of some sort, which only purports to an account of a fraction of those streams. Lose Yourself has been put in what they call copyright control, reserved for songs which the owner is not known. 8 Mile attacks the absurd notion that it can't be identified as the owner of such iconic songs, which was the centerpiece of the big hit movie 8 Mile, which was #1 on the Billboard and won an Oscar for Best Original Song. Eminem is one of the largest artists in the world, especially in hip hop. And Mr. Richard Bush, is one of the representatives, a Nashville attorney, and he has been trailblazing this case on behalf of his client Eminem's early work. And this is where we are right now. Now, people say that there is, new laws that meant that we have to alleviate the difficulties of matching songs through ownership and things of that nature. And they've been reading about it for many years. But with this new MMA Act that went into effect, it was held by song publishers as a compromise. The MMA is supposed to benefit the music community and create a more transparent and streamlined approach to music licensing and payment for artists. Now, streamers may have thought the copyright troubles were ended, but maybe that was a little bit premature of thinking in that direction. So now, today, yesterday, it was filed, and it's just been a firestorm ever since. Now, I've personally myself has spoken with the office of Mr. Bush and gave my 2 cents when they asked me questions, and that was that. And 8 Mile is trying to say that Spotify knew exactly who owned Eminem songs, even if it didn't. It's, they did not engage in a required commercially reasonable effort to match sound recordings with the 8 Mile compositions as required by MMA. Spotify will surely have its own interpretation of the MMA Act once it enforces it and files, the proper paperwork when this is reached out to. Now, here's the different, the damages that are being done here. Now, see, Eminem publishers, they're not just questioning Spotify's compliance. It's a bold argument regarding the new law. But as 8 Mile contends, the attempt to, radioactively wipe out everything is not being taken lightly. This is something that by Harvard law, they're doing. And what people don't realize is that this same thing has happened with Death Row Records. Suge Knight didn't know that they had like millions of dollars, and probably still do to this day, where the copyrights were filled out incorrectly, and people thought they were getting paid on these records, and they actually weren't. The paperwork was, for whatever reason, they didn't put a comma in the right place. If you don't fill out the paperwork, it is put in what they call copyright control. And that means it's just nobody's getting paid on the money. It's just sitting there. So the people who didn't file correctly on it, their part of the money is still sitting there. Yeah, and it could be millions of dollars. So Death Row Records have some of these publishings that were in creative. Uh, sorry about that. My neck is killing me, but yeah, copyright control. Ooh, man. You have a bourbon and go up your spine and hurt your neck? Yeah, that's what just happened to me. Jeez. So hopefully this gets resolved soon, because this could get ugly for Spotify. And that's it. If you like everything you heard, definitely click in the stream up. Leave me a message. If you want to contact me or leave me a number, we'll call you back. And wow, let's see how this turns out. Shouts out to Goo Roach. The Goo!